In this video, I will be covering the Cuban Missile Crisis. A 13-day period where the US and USSR almost engaged in nuclear warfare. Background: the Cuban Missile Crisis took place during the Cold War, a period of political tension and military competition between the Soviet Union and the United States. The Soviet Union and the United States were engaged in a nuclear arms race for several years, with both sides building up their nuclear arsenals. The deployment of U.S. missiles in Turkey and Italy had heightened Soviet fears of a potential U.S. first strike. This fear led the Soviet Union to decide to place its own nuclear missiles in Cuba, which was only 90 miles away from the United States. Introduction: the Cuban Missile Crisis began when the Soviet Union placed nuclear missiles in Cuba, which was only 90 miles away from the United States. The U.S. government was unaware of these missiles until a U-2 spy plane captured photographic evidence of the missile sites on October 14, 1962. President John F. Kennedy immediately convened a group of advisors known as the Executive Committee of the National Security Council (EXCOM) to discuss the situation and formulate a response. Main points: after Kennedy was briefed by his advisors, he decided to order a naval quarantine of Cuba to prevent more Soviet ships from delivering missiles to the island. The U.S. military went on high alert, and both sides threatened the use of nuclear weapons. On October 22, Kennedy addressed the nation on television, informing them of the presence of Soviet missiles in Cuba and announcing the quarantine. This marked the start of a tense standoff between the two superpowers, with the world watching closely. The crisis escalated as Soviet ships approached the quarantine line, and the U.S. prepared to intercept them. On October 24, a Soviet submarine was detected near the U.S. blockade, and the U.S. Navy began dropping depth charges to force it to surface. The submarine's commander had authorization to launch a nuclear torpedo, but he chose not to, averting a potential nuclear catastrophe. Kennedy and Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev exchanged letters and proposals, with both sides making concessions and offering compromises. On October 28, Khrushchev agreed to remove the missiles from Cuba in exchange for a U.S. promise not to invade Cuba and the removal of U.S. missiles from Turkey and Italy. Significance: the Cuban Missile Crisis was a pivotal moment in the history of the Cold War and the world, as it brought the two superpowers to the brink of a nuclear war. The successful resolution of the crisis highlighted the need for direct communication and diplomacy between the U.S. and Soviet Union, leading to the establishment of a direct hotline between the two capitals. The crisis also had lasting effects on U.S.-Soviet relations, as both sides became more cautious and cooperative in their dealings with each other. The crisis demonstrated the danger of nuclear weapons and the need for arms control measures to prevent their use. Overall, the Cuban Missile Crisis showed the world the catastrophic consequences of nuclear war and the need for peaceful conflict resolution. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe, as it would be a great help and keep you notified of new content.